brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, dondolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirabo, but that is in case you have just joined. But because we are always here from 6:30 with Joram Paul Sonko, Olive Najuma, I, and also Ruben Chiwirango for sports updates. Now the Extra, we have a guest or guests and we look at issues of national importance. Now this morning I'm going to be discussing something very important, by the way, and that is benefits of marriage registration. Now, there is something cooking in Parliament. That is not my area of interest this morning, but you want to understand why you should register that marriage. One would say, if my parents know people came to this function, now registration for what? Well, I have a guest with me, and that is Provia Nangovi. And she is the Principal Licensing and Registrations Officer, that is at NIRA. Now that is the National Identification Authority, which now has the mandate to conduct the registration of marriages in this country. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Robert.
And I'm happy to have a person like you discussing this topic. Why? Because most of the times, one, people may not even know where to go to register their marriages, most of the changes. Others feel, why would I bother even registering my marriage? Some have forms of marriage that they feel even when they have conducted them, it is not very of any value to continue. I'll talk about the traditional marriage because it's a form. So if I've done the introduction, I don't need any document. You find someone shouting and all they are bringing are photos. You see, this is my brother receiving the chicken. You see, this is my father getting the mutwaro. But when legally, that is not evidence you can produce. So, to begin with, when we talk about registration of marriages, where does NIRA come in? Because previously we know it wasn't so much a thing of NIRA.
Okay, Robert, you've spoken about several things. Now let me start with the mandate that moved. Previously, registration of marriages was under the docket of URSB,
yes,
Uganda Registration Services Bureau. We are all aware of the rationalization exercise. That has taken some time. I think it's been in motion for about like maybe 4 years or 3 years, the preparations and everything. So effective, I think, 1st of October, the function of registration of marriages moved to NIRA, the National Identification and Registration Authority. Reasons being that civil registration and vital statistics had 3 very key components. There is birth, death, and marriages. Those are priority areas when it comes to civil registration and vital statistics entirely in the world. So it was a bit unfair for one of the components to be left behind. As you might recall, registration of birth and death used to be with URSB as well in 2014 and the previous years. So when the ROPA, the Registration of Persons Act, came into place that brought the registration of individuals, they moved birth and death, and marriage remained alone as the civil registration and vital statistic handled by URSB alone. So to close that gap, they concluded the entire process by moving the marriage registration function to what? To NIRA. So meaning actually when the child is born, you can follow up the whole stage, the entire stage, life, you know, the life cycle of a butterfly. It's like, I'm equating it to an individual. You get born. Along the way, you'll become an adult. As an adult, you have identification that you must have. That is the national ID. Right now, even children are getting registered. When they become of age, then they will acquire the ID. So you'll have that identification number that will be on your birth certificate from when you're born. And it will be the entire number that you use until God calls you. So you'll get the ID from the same institution. Along the way, you will meet someone that desires you, or you desire that person and you want to get married, same institution. And then maybe when things, God calls you and your time on earth has been well spent, you pass on. So the whole statistic of an individual, you see, is going to be in one institution. So it's going to pretty much be easing the integration of data and accessing of records and statistics. So you spoke about customary, somewhere you spoke about, I have pictures and whatever. Marriages are many. They all carry the same weight.
Sure.
So if someone has chosen to do a customary marriage, it doesn't mean they are less of a person compared to the other person who is going to church or come for civil marriage that we conduct.
But then let me quickly ask you that. How come when people go for the traditional marriage, they have to complete it with the religious marriage?
Now I'm coming to that. Marriages there are 5 marriages that are recognized in Uganda. Some are polygamous, some are monogamous. Reasons being that our society, our traditional society, was potentially polygamous. So the law had to cater for people who wanted to have more than one spouse. Okay? So the polygamous marriages are the customary. The kwanjula, kuhinjira, atekwal, depending on the culture where you are. So these traditional marriages, you desire someone, you go to the families, you follow the norms and rights of that family. They give you their daughter. Usually the man will go to the woman's family. You give you the daughter. You have those pictures you're talking about. You celebrate. Nowadays they're huge. You celebrate. You take pictures. You have placards that are showing just married or Provia introduces whatever. So when that ceremony has occurred, the law says go and register it at the sub-county. The sub-county being the lowest division within the government, local government. You go with evidence of that marriage and conclude the process. A marriage in itself is concluded. When it comes to for evidential purposes, what will you show? Pictures? The evidence is in that certificate that actually you have, showing that Robert, took Provia on such and such a day. There were witnesses, such and such people. So those witnesses will appear on your certificate. So you and your husband and 2 witnesses will go to the sub-county and register that marriage. Okay, then you will acquire the customary certificate. Then there are Muslim marriages, also those are potentially polygamous. But Muslim, the Sharia law is very clear. You get the women that you're capable of taking care of. Not you getting one person and living, getting a second when you can't take care of the first. So it allows them to have up to 4 wives, which is quite different from the customary. Customary is as many as you can manage. So you understand? So those are the polygamous marriages. However, the law allows also monogamous marriages. So you can go to church. Usually those are the common marriages you've heard about, where people go to church where they were born, they celebrate. They are joined in union as holy matrimony. Then later on the churches will give us details or records of those marriages. Then there are the civil marriages that we actually carry out in Kampala. They are similar. The law that governs them is similar. They are both monogamous marriages. So it's one man, one woman. Okay? Then we have the Hindu marriages. They are marriages of Indians and whatever. Yes. So the issue that you had spoken about is the registration of a marriage after the marriage has occurred. The law is very clear that the one who has celebrated the marriage must return records of that marriage to the Registrar General of Marriages, who is currently the ED of NIRA. So when the church has celebrated 5 marriages, 2 marriages, 10 marriages in a month, it gets those records electronically and sends them to us. Because now we are the repository of the entire National Marriage Register.
Now what you're speaking about is very important for Ugandans to understand.
Very
because
true,
most people know that once have been wedded in church, there's a certificate they give us. That is just enough for me. As long as I possess that certificate, and a woman will keep it. Usually they are kept by women, guard it jealously, so that in case I wake up and I find probably a better opportunity, or I want to have a second person, I can't go through church because it is what she will present.
It's actually very good that you say women guard them. Men should also guard their certificates. However, the church certificate is evidence that you actually had your marriage ceremony.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, when it comes to, you know, those issues where you can no longer be together anymore, I mean, it's human nature. Sometimes relationships don't work. Other times they actually end. People live and die together. Yeah. So when you come to circumstances where you can no longer live together and probably want to separate, the law will require that, because divorce again is in court. Divorce, you don't come to us that because you know we registered your marriage with you, now we want you to divorce us. We have people coming by there saying, we came here, so now we are coming here to end it. We don't divorce couples. So circumstances that maybe you can no longer work together, live together, we require that you have the marriage registered. So when a marriage has occurred in church, the process, that is the first step. Registration is finalizing the process of the marriage being recognized. You understand? However, even nowadays, you know, if you want to acquire maybe matrimonial property together, you want to acquire a loan, all these banks, you want to travel together, will ask you for a certified copy. So the certified copy is given by government. It's not given by the one who wedded you, okay, in church. So the certified copy, you have to come to us, and we can only certify it if we have it. We have that record. That's why you see when churches conduct these marriages, they give us copies of those, what I will call returns or records of the marriages they have conducted on a monthly basis. Then we safeguard it. When you, Robert, want a certified copy for purposes, many, it could be you want to go and study, but you have registered as a married person, or you want to go and travel for a holiday, you have registered as a married person, or you want to access a loan, you've registered as, you've used collateral of your house, they will require you to have a certified copy, an agreement, and consent of your spouse, so you will come for the certification where? At our offices. So that is completing the registration process.
Now, well said. How do we as a couple ensure that the church, because that is also another big area to look at. Today, I see a number of churches. I may not speak for the traditionals, because you've given us the process of this account and all that. But a number of churches today wed couples. Now, how do I know that that particular church I've gone to first sends the records to NIRA, ask the newlywed, and is there a specific time within the law that from the date you've been wedded, this certificate church must have notified NIRA?
Okay, you as an individual, I think you said with the newly wedded couple.
Yes.
I think it should be before you get married.
Oh.
Yeah, before you get married, the onus lies with you to find out if that church is licensed to celebrate marriages. Licensed to celebrate marriages. Not other functions of the church. So you will find that we have several churches. There are many. There are really, really many. But some of them do not want to actually conduct marriages. But if you're interested in actually celebrating marriages in your church, then you acquire a license that you apply for through the Registrar General of Marriages, but it is the license is provided or provided to you by the Minister of Justice. Okay? The license is one time. So a couple that wants to get married is very free to come to our offices and does a search. It's free to find out if the church is licensed. Even on our website, we have a list of churches, about 3,000 plus, close to 4,000 that are licensed. So when you're choosing, choose wisely. I know sometimes it's sentimental values. Someone wants to get married in a church where the parents maybe got married. And maybe it is a church that has been serving the community for years. The church is there, everybody knows it. It has a location, it has an address, it has priests or reverend or pastors, but the church has no license. So if you have that attachment, that emotional, sentimental attachment to that church, help it to take it through the process of acquiring a license.
I think you must emphasize that to our viewers, because many will tell you, you know, these churches print that certificate. So if your father has it in their house and people in the community have this certificate of the church, one may think it is a certificate because so-and-so was wedded there and they have a marriage certificate. This church has been licensed. So please emphasize that, because many people end up being told where you exchanged your vows is not licensed. And then, therefore, you can't even travel. You can't present this and many
That's
others.
true.
So we need to emphasize that to our viewer.
Yes, that is sad but true. However, like I said, for a church to celebrate marriages, it must have a license. And the license is one-off, so you don't have to apply every year, unless it is revoked, but the license is one-off. For a church to acquire that license, it has to go through, the process is not really, is not complicated. If a church, there are structures, our churches follow structures. Me being a Catholic, I can give you the structure of the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, starting from, even when you go to a church within a parish, it has where it reports.
Yes.
And then the parish will, you'll find a sub-parish, a parish, a diocese, you know, those structures have been laid down for years. Same applies to the Anglican Church. So it is well known that that church is structured. You can find it even after years and years and years when the person who wedded you has passed on. Now, following those structures, a church will apply for a license. If it is a Catholic church, it will back it up maybe with a letter from the bishop that oversees the parish where it is located. We require that they have permanent structures. We do not want people to actually be celebrating a marriage and people are happy and a structure is You've seen those
Someone
things.
says, I want to be wedded on a yacht.
That one I'm going to come with that. You can get wedded on a yacht. So we want structures that are permanent, or semi-permanent to a point that maybe they are not going to endanger the lives of the people who are coming to get married. We require that you have space where you can keep our records, because records are very important. We do not want after years to come and you tell us, there was a flood, and then when the flood came after the rains, which were on Monday, it took all the papers and records which were on the floor. So for us, we look out for basic things. Do you have marriage celebrants? Do you have reverends or trained pastors who understand the Marriage Act? Because it's the one that they're going to actually be implementing as they wed couples. And also by understanding it, it means that every month after they have wedded these couples, they file returns to the Registrar General of Marriages. When they pass through that process, give us evidence of ABCD that I've mentioned. They have an address, it is well known. If it's within Kampala, we come and do the inspection. If it's outside Kampala, the chief administrative officers support us in doing that inspection. Then they submit their documentation. And then after maybe 2 to 3 days, the minister issues that license. Then they start conducting weddings. Okay, that is just the simple procedure.
A simple procedure.
You spoke about a yacht. Since I spoke about the 5 different marriages, the law also allows you an individual, I want to say us, okay, let me say us, let me make myself a citizen, an individual accessing a marriage service. If I have always wanted to get married at the beach, or in that church you're saying on the boat, like Victoria and whatever, I want to start from Munyonyo. You know that people have dreams.
Yes.
So I mean, a marriage ideally is supposed to be once in a lifetime. So I want my lifetime to be realized on that day of my happiness in my lifetime, on that day of my marriage. So I will come to NERA and apply for a license. A license for me to have my wedding place gazetted as a venue for weddings. Because now it is outside the church and it's outside our office where we conduct those marriages. And it's outside the mosque, you see, you get it? So that license will be for a particular day. It will not be like forever, you're going to continue wedding on that yacht. If I want my wedding to be on today is 19th, at Munyonyo on the water, I will apply for a license of Munyonyo for that day. Okay? Then the choice is mine. I can actually get my pastor or reverend or priest from my church to celebrate the marriage. Or I can come to NERA and ask for the registrar to come and celebrate the marriage. So the law allows that. That's why you're seeing many weddings at beaches. The law allows us to have
The thing is
as much fun as long as, yes.
vows are being extended.
Yes, the law allows that to happen, yes. So that's also possible. But you apply for the special license. Yeah.
Now, a big question. What do I stand to benefit? Why should I labor to register a marriage?
I think the first and foremost, the most important thing is that evidential value that comes with the certificate. The rest of the other tenant benefits are because you have evidential value that comes with that certificate. Like I said before, you want to access loans, they'll ask you for a certified copy of your marriage certificate. Maybe we have had scenarios where maybe someone's child is unwell, or maybe the spouse is unwell, and probably they can afford to fly out for treatment, and you want to escort that person. They'll ask you for a certified copy of your marriage certificate. We have had scenarios where families, unfortunate scenarios where someone passes on. I am telling you, but it can become very difficult for you to prove you are actually married to someone when you do not have a certificate of marriage. Staying together for years, in itself does not mean that actually you're married. Staying together for years can mean that you're friends. We have seen people of your sex actually saying that, for me, I came to your home as a visitor. We have had these words spoken by men saying, me, I came to visit you. I didn't come for a function. So on that day you served and you gave us food. But you see now, you did not register, you did not proceed to register maybe that customary marriage. So now it's against you. You're not going to, it's going to be difficult for you to drag someone who's no longer interested in you to the sub-county. You see how difficult it is? And God forbid, maybe you are happy and happy and happy, and the person passes on. How are you going to make someone who cannot write anymore sign on a certificate? So the thing that we tell people is, as you're having that fun and whatever, even before you leave, usually when people have those quandulas and whatever, if it is, depending on where it is, people will stay there for maybe 2 to 3 days in the town where they, as they prepare for the function. Before you leave, register at the sub-county. Or maybe if you've left that same day that you've come back the next week and register. And know that at least you've secured your family. Family is very important. These fights that we see that separate families, and people will behave like animals because they are running after property. So don't get yourself to a situation, man or woman.
She wasn't our brother's wife. We didn't know her.
You see those things. And people turn against you because there's no evidence. Because they know actually that the person came and got married to you, but did not conclude you didn't conclude the process.
And children are not evidence here. The
children
law requires documentation.
Yes, but the children, for them, they remain protected. A child remains protected regardless of your relationship. So as you, if it's a man or a woman that has passed on and there's an estate, your children will always be protected. But you, the spouse, is where you have issues now. So you see how
hard it is. Well, we are looking at benefits of registering marriages. Most of the times have come to know that many people maybe physically look to be married, but legally they are not married because their marriage has not been registered. Now NERA is taking on this role to ensure that they register marriages in this country. There are various forms, I think there are about 5 marriages recognized in Uganda, and for each of them. Now, for the Catholics, for the Anglicans, for the traditional, you have to register. Then what about the Hindus and then the Islam? I saw the Baha'u'llah, or all those, still them, those that preside over, must forward to NERA?
Yes. The Muslim, like I said initially, the Sharia law is quite different. It allows them to marry anywhere because they say if a man has desired a woman and he wants to get married to her there and then, facilitate it. So that's why you'll have nikas at home. For them, the law is different. And you know it allows up to 4. And actually we have seen very responsible gentlemen, Muslim gentlemen, registering their wives. After they get married, the imam will forward to us their certificates that we certify. But you will find someone with more than one wife forwarding all the details. That's responsibility. You see. So all the different, you spoke about, I don't know, you said something?
Baha'i, is that?
Yes. That is coming in the new bill. They are, because the law allows all other denominations to actually be able to celebrate these marriages. So until the bill has been passed, then maybe we can have that discussion. But that discussion is ongoing. I saw it in papers yesterday. They have asked for people's views. There are a lot of things in there in the bill that people can actually respond to and provide guidance or refuse to accept and say that is not acceptable in our culture. So those discussions are
the
ongoing.
new changes that we wait for if they see the light of day. If they see the proposals, if they see the light of day.
But currently, the Marriage Act as it is, it could be very old. It's 1904. But it perfectly represents everyone.
Definitely.
You see, from 1904, it had the capacity of ensuring it takes care of our traditional society, which was always polygamous, mostly polygamous. You would have said by then maybe the colonialists would have probably preferred us to be monogamous, but they took care of our polygamous ways, you see, and values, took care of the Muslims, took care of the... It is so, there are few things that probably can change, but currently the law as it is, it provides for all of us.
Now, Provia, you rightly said all these marriages are equal.
Yes.
If I did the Sharia, it's registered with NIRA, it is as equal as me going to church.
Yes,
But then, why do we see that many people feel incomplete when they carry out a traditional marriage and they have not done a religious marriage? Or what happens in case I register the traditional, I went for Kwanjula, had my Najuma Olive, went to her parents, did the introduction, now registered that marriage, the sub-county. Again, we come to church, now again get a certificate, she says, aha, may I want to be safe, again register that marriage. But yet you said all of them are equal and almost independent in nature.
It's society has made us, has changed a lot of things that are happening right now. People will do Kwanjula and actually they call it introduction. They say, I went and they introduced the man, I introduced the man to my family. Like I've told you, the marriages have the same value. The reason why they have the same value is they cater to different needs of different people. Like I told you, customary marriage is polygamous. So if the gentleman is interested in having more than one wife, can take Provia today, he takes her tomorrow, he takes the other tomorrow. There are as many as he can manage. Okay? So if he registers those ones, he will remain entirely polygamous like that. He won't cross over. However, if the situation is that you're with me and we have done our introduction and the Kwanjula or Kuhenjira, wherever I come from, and we have done our introduction and registered it, we can convert it into a church marriage. Meaning that part, you see the certificates in church usually ask at the point of when you're getting married, okay, not the certificates, our returns, your certificates will put your names and where you married. The return by law will ask about your marital status when you're getting married, for reasons being that it knows that actually there's a traditional marriage that could have occurred before that. So in that particular column, you will show that you are customarily married, you see. Then they will proceed with the wedding. Oftentimes people go to church for blessings because the church, sentimental value, I've told you, attachment of our parents, your parents want to see you in church. So after the Kwanjula, they will say, you must go to church. So if you have registered the customary, you can remain with that customary marriage registration and you get a blessing from church. However, if you're interested in ensuring that your marriage is monogamous, remember the other one is polygamous, then you convert it.
Now, can I have a church marriage without a traditional? By law, let's now move away from sentiments.
You see, the churches manage their marriages differently. That's why, Robert, you'll hear a church saying that you must test for HIV. It doesn't mean that there's a church that will not, there's no church that will wed you if you turn out positive.
My church now, you also have to test for sickle cells.
You see, because churches have their norms as well that they follow, that we don't get into. We don't get into their space. For a long time, there was a case where someone said, why should the church ask me to go and test? It's discriminating me and whatever. But there are several other churches. So the choice is you can go to another church that won't ask you to go through. But now you're talking about sickle cell. Some of these things are good for people to know, because you've seen people getting into relationships and then getting children who are maybe sick, and they don't know how to treat them. But if you know in advance, you make a wise decision. So we do not get into the space of what the church, every church follows its own values.
Did they ask you for parents' consent?
Yes, I've heard about that. Because they want to know that you come from a proper family. And some of them will even ask you for introduction.
The father of the daughter must bring her in, or the brother?
Not meaning that they want you to do a whole entire ceremony. We are the ones who have made this ceremony so expensive and defeating. By introduction, they want to probably know that the families have met and they have agreed. You know, there are situations where a parent will say, me, I do not want my daughter to get married to Robert's family, because Robert's family is ABCD, they are not good. They have their reasons as parents, they have their reasons. So they want to give a blessing. So if my value, if this church has a value of ensuring that one of the submissions you make is your parents' consent.
Yes,
They will not, if there's no blessing, there won't be a wedding. And I don't hold that against them. I just said the other options. There are several churches, so the choice is yours.
Well, I have to go for a very short break. When I return, we are still looking at the benefits of registering a marriage. And now, this is a function of the National Identification Authority, NIRA. And with me, I have a person also in charge of this with me in studios. Let's go for this break. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
The Ministry of Health informs the general public that there are some cases of Mpox detected in Uganda. The ministry, working with partners and affected district local governments, are doing their best to contain the situation. The signs and symptoms of Mpox are body rash, fever, general body weakness, headache, sore throat, nasal congestion or cough, and swollen lymph nodes. You can prevent yourself from getting infected with Mpox by avoiding who have been confirmed to have Mpox or who have signs and symptoms of Mpox. Avoiding touching or sharing personal items like beddings, eating utensils, phones, or other belongings of a person who has the signs and symptoms of Mpox. Avoiding contact, including eating with all wild animals, alive or dead, especially those known to carry the virus, such as rodents and monkeys, and those that appear sick or have been found dead. Getting vaccinated if you're among those who have been identified to be at high risk of Mpox infection. Mpox is treatable and usually goes away after 2 to 4 weeks. However, it can be severe, causing even death, especially among children, pregnant women, and those with other health conditions. For more information and support, contact your nearest health worker. Call the Ministry of Health's toll-free line on 0800 100 066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
I know, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
A lovely morning to you. A very interesting discussion happening here. Issues of marriage. Banange. These things are not easy. And I feel for people who conduct them. We are still having NIRA with us. That is the National Identification Registration Authority. And we are looking at benefits of registering a marriage. Now, there is so much complication in this issue. We talked about the 5 forms of marriages legally recognized in Uganda, and these are what NIRA registers. Now, a question. Before we went for the break, we had clarified that all these marriages are equal and they have the same value. Now, we have the customary, which is polygamous in nature. If I do my customary, I can marry as many as I can afford or care for. I want to use the word care because women are not young kids, but so as long as I can manage, let me use that word. Now, what happens if I have my 3-2 that we did a customary marriage, and I now want to pick one and go to church with that one so that I'm also registered as someone who conducted the religious marriage? Because you see, sometimes there is a way church segregates people. Holy Communion, if you're not wedded, you don't partake of the bread and wine. If now you're a responsible person, you've gone to your village to pray, and it is time for Holy Communion, and they see Chirabo remaining seated. they have mothers, father. There is a way they bring, religion brings those ways of feeling you must belong here, and I want to come there. How do you handle that?
Now, which one do I start with? The one of religion, the one of customary?
You know what I'm saying? I want to make it, I did the customary. I have my 3-2. Now, I want to choose one and bring to church.
Now, let me be very clear, and I look in that camera and tell citizens of Uganda to understand, okay, now it is men, it concerns you men. Chirabo, you're representing men here, now you're speaking for men. Eh?
I have my
this is the conference, this thing, the men's conference, yes. Robert, if you customarily married 2 women, me and Sarah, whether I was the first or the second, when you customarily married us, you do not choose one of us to cross over and go to church. Those are 2 different types of marriages. One is polygamous, one is monogamous. So, if you choose to want to go to church, understand when you're taking the first wife that you cannot have a second wife. Are we clear? If you choose to go to church, you want to have a monogamous marriage. Church is monogamous. Civil is monogamous. So if you choose, you want to partake of the body of Christ, Catholic Church, it means you're going to be in a monogamous marriage. So you have no business having 2 women, customarily marrying 2 women. If you choose that you want to take one of us to church, you must sit us together down and divorce properly. Customarily. So you cannot just wake up in the morning and say, because there are 2, because probably looks better, and now she's younger, and whatever, so let me take her to church. And I leave Sarah, who I was married to, first.
Now that means there's a lot of...
You have to divorce, and customary divorcing, it depends on the tribe. It still goes back to the rights and norms of that culture. You have to go through them, take back their daughter, even if she's now no longer a child, take her back. I don't know what they will ask you for. I don't know what they will tell you to do. You must be able to pass through. It is like a Passover of those particular things that they put you to task to.
So that means...
When you meet the obligations of divorcing customarily, you even go to court and divorce again. You have to divorce. Because remember, you're already married. So the family, you'll do those things, the rights of the family. Then maybe you took property. I don't know what you took. They will give it, I don't know if they will give it back to you depending on the culture. We witnessed sometimes someone taking back cows. The father said, come and pick up your cows. It was a Western customary marriage. Then they went and picked their cows. And then the man wrote back and said, I'm now contented. The family wrote back and said, thank you. We have our daughter back. But you complete the process in court. When you complete it, then you can actually go to church.
Okay. Now,
but again, you must understand one thing, that when you're a divorcee, it was going to be very difficult for you to go to our churches.
This first go slow. This is a very interesting topic. For the men out there, registration of marriages is very important. Now, I've seen people being married in church, wedded in church, and what happens, a woman who was married through a traditional marriage, we are told cannot stop a church marriage going to happen.
A different woman?
No, if, for example, I'm wedding you in church, but I introduced Olive. Now, Olive cannot come with proof that she's married to me because I never wedded her in church. She can't stop. It is only one who was wedded in church that has a church certificate.
That is wrong. That is wrong. That was, I think, misinformation. I don't know where you got it from. If I was customarily married and my husband takes someone else, my friend, I'll go to that church. And I don't wait for the wedding. I go with evidence of our function before the wedding, instead of drama of, you know, those things which you see people taking you pictures. I go before. I go before. And I meet the reverend or the parish priest or whatever, the person responsible.
But you are wedded in another form of way.
Yes, but like I told you, they are all recognized, they are all equal,
yes.
But they are all just different types. They are just different types. So if I have that evidence, then the church has no business in continuing to marry you to someone else. And we have seen these things happening at the churches. Actually asked us, you know what, this person came to me, whatever, but someone came when we search and the person is actually, there's a record of marriage, the church has no business continuing with that marriage. It means even you went to church and you lied, you see?
That you've never been
married.
Now earlier you talked about if you're divorced, it's very hard. Let's go
Some
back
churches, because I know that in my church, my Catholic church, I'm speaking for my church, I know that it will be very difficult for a divorcee to go and get married again, because it is for life. Marriage is for life. So when you're there happy and they're putting a ring on your finger, it is for life.
I think we need to attach more value to these things than just excitement of
exactly that's
wedding,
true.
Introduction, God introduce, God, this excitement we see.
Yes. But I know that the church can bless you. Some churches will bless you. But blessing will not go through the entire rites of a marriage ceremony, but they will bless you.
So
then maybe there could be other churches that can allow to...
Now, if the church then blesses me, Nira cannot give me a document.
No, if you're divorced, divorced, you can come and get married with a civil marriage. I told you that the marriages all have the same weight, carry the same weight. So it doesn't mean that your happiness has ended. No, you meet someone else, life can happen. And you divorce, and maybe you like the person very, of course it starts very good. As you said, people rush, and then you realize maybe you're not compatible, then you divorce. And you come to us.
The civil marriage, it's
yes. You see, there are options.
Well,
first, we are not going to tell you why were you divorced. No, bring evidence that you're divorced. You have to have gone through the entire process, and then we shall wed you.
Very interesting here when it comes to registration of marriages. I hope you're following keenly to avoid some of the embarrassments, because I'm also getting to know that actually when you carry out a traditional marriage and you register that marriage, you have proof enough to stop any other marriage. And I'm talking of a religious marriage. Of course, you won't be able to stop a civil marriage like you have said.
You still can stop it. You can't just stop another customer.
Well, let me look at some of the messages that are coming in. Provia is just... I don't know how many men are watching this morning, but it's very important.
They're going to be mad at me.
It's very important for the men. An hobby of mine from Dejas just sent me a funny message. But let me look at those that are coming in. One says, this is Mutesasha. He says, so it's better I don't register. Now, we're talking about the benefits. Why wouldn't you want to go into a commitment? Because you fear you break that commitment. Another one says, my question to her is, national IDs alone are a problem. What about now us registering marriages? A good one. Nila, you have so much on your desk.
Yes, we have so much on our desk, and you know the mass enrollment exercise is also ongoing. But I don't think that we have had any issue, someone coming to tell us, you see, we submitted our request to get married or whatever, and it was stopped, or we did not process it.
Oh, it took long.
Oh, it took long.
I may be traveling. I meet someone up outside Uganda. We just want to come back. We are Ugandans or whatever, conduct our wedding, have that certificate, travel back as a couple.
I don't think we have ever had any scenario like that where we have prevented someone from getting married who comes in time. Our civil marriages are just like church. 21 days, we put you in the notebook book, and people will see you. So if someone has interest in you and you married the person, and you're here lying that you're single, then you can come and actually let us know. You know, then we shall mediate and and let the pastor know that actually there's evidence that you're already married. So after the 21 days, we actually proceed to wed the couple. But however, there are people who, like you've said, they need mass travel, something has come up. They wanted to wait the 21 days, but something has come up, work-related, family-related. The law allows them to write to the minister and seek a waiver of the 21 days notice. So instead of 21 days, they can get married in 7 days. So we have all those options. So we have never had a scenario where because marriage is really a happy thing, we have never had a scenario where someone has, unless the person has come with no document at all, especially foreigners who are getting married to Ugandans, on the day of the marriage, you don't give me the evidence that you're supposed to have come with showing that you're
Lithuanians, I wonder how they do it. I live in an area where there are many, but almost every day,
they're getting married.
They're getting married, huge vehicles, and I picked interest.
But you know that Uganda is one of the most recognized countries when it comes to hosting of refugees. You aware of that? So these Eritreans, I think some of them came first, and then later on their partners joined them. So when their partners join them, they get married. And usually because it's a refugee hosting country, most of these people don't end here finally. Later on maybe they want to fly out to countries where they have been able to get asylum. And they want to go when they're a couple. So that's why you see them like...
Now how long should I take to question? For example, if I'm wedded today, because today we have weddings on any day, even Mondays, Tuesdays, today at church. So how long should I take to question or to say my certificate from NIRA has delayed? From that day you receive, is there a deadline? Okay,
now when you're wedded, but in church?
Yes.
When you're married in church, the church files returns every month. Even the Muslims file returns almost every day. They file for them almost every day because their structures are consolidated. The ones who have wedded, the sheikhs this side will send to the imam. In their bodies, then they will send to us. So what happens when we receive your return and you walk in today and you want a certified copy, we shall give it to you today because we already have the record of your marriage. Okay, so you don't have to wait. Certain times maybe the marriages have happened, especially in places which are hard to reach, like up country and whatever. Certain where people also technology maybe disturbs them a bit. You'll find that maybe the churches are not filing on a regular basis, maybe because the marriages, they have a few. They say, let us wait for them to become many, then we file. So sometimes it will be the demand of the couples to the churches that makes them make that return. But we have scenarios where the couple themselves will go to the church and say, I went to URSB, they did a search, they couldn't find my marriage on the register, but you wedded me. So the church will write a cover letter, give you details of the marriage, and then you bring it on your own.
Well, someone's here saying, good morning. Some of the content is not correct. If you have more than one wife and you want to wed one of them in church, the church accepts on condition that you don't sleep with the rest, with the rest, but not divorce as we understand it. Honorable Pereza Habwe Godfrey, former member of parliament.
But you see, you're even frowning when you're reading that message.
Yeah, because
you're frowning. You know why you're frowning? Because which churches profess monogamy. So which church is going to tell you that as long as you do not
sleep
engage in it? I've never heard of it. That is the first time I'm hearing that message. And it's absolutely wrong, incorrect.
The church will not say that you take one, then the rest can be there as long as...
As long as you go to the church, you go there when you're monogamous. But if you're already married, customarily it should be to that. That's why I told you your certificate will show that part of condition, marital status. Instead of single, it will show customarily what? Married. Okay, because you're already in a marriage. So it is not true that they tell you. Where have you heard of that, Robert? Which church is that tells you to leave the other 4 women, don't indulge with them, and then you only take one? How fair are you going to be to the 4 women you've left?
You don't sleep with them, but you provide for them.
That's not true.
Now we have another one. Thanks so much, Robert. NIRA has a very big problem. They are talking about registering marriages, yet getting a national ID is a big problem. Then the issue of customary marriage should be explained well. Before you divorce, what about the children and the lady has with the same man?
Like I said earlier, children are protected. So I'm not going to even mention children again. Children by right of birth For them, they are covered. Customarily, when you get married, whether it is to 1, 2, 3 women, register it at the sub-county. So that in circumstances where you're not working out anymore, something has happened and one of the parties wants to walk away, you have evidence that actually you're married. So you proceed to annul that marriage properly. You don't just remain. And then besides, if you've been together for years, let me say 30 years, and you're customarily married for 20 or 30 years, the absence of the other party for the 30 years doesn't mean that the marriage has ended. The marriage only ends when it has gone through divorce. Okay? A marriage only ends when it has gone through divorce, the right proper procedure of divorce. So me not staying with you for years and you getting someone else doesn't mean that I stopped being your wife or you stopped being my husband.
No, Provia, please come clear. Because we did not carry out a divorce.
Yes.
Because I've seen these incidents when someone dies. And the woman who left long time ago
comes back
to claim.
For you, why do you think that woman comes back?
But you left.
Because I'm telling you, now you have grounds for divorce. You, if the man, you as the man, if your woman has left you, or you left the woman for years, those are grounds for divorce. You go and say, I've been with party A for these and these years. We no longer coordinate. When we find we have children, I'm taking care of the children. But we have been separated for this long. I ask court to grant me a divorce. Some courts will say, if it is a short process, they'll first try and tell you, maybe try and, you know, like, they give you,
court, yes,
just the way the church will say, they will not tell you go and divorce. They will say, no, come and we cancel you, whatever.
The law gives you some period.
Some period of time, yes, but those are several years separate. I am sure you will get the divorce granted immediately. And the divorce doesn't have to be granted when you're there together. You have evidence that you no longer work out. You have evidence that you've been separated for years. You have children. Of course, the court will take care of your children. If it is a man, they would say, make sure you continue supporting the education of your children and welfare of your children.
Well, we must end it at here. Thank you so much, Provia Nangovi from NERA. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for hosting me.
Our viewers, yes, so many messages are coming in and they find this, but we must end here. And I see we have a live broadcast. Let's move to that venue.
Secondly, this activity is also intended to popularize these achievements for the benefit of our citizens, and the citizens must have all the reasons to believe that their choice of voting NRM was and indeed is not in vain. So as we progress in this direction, we expect our citizens to be following and be able to assess us on how far we have lived to the commitments. I also want to inform you that this activity is jointly hosted by the Office of the President and the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, and we want to thank them for all the necessary support